Okay, we're going to continue for Lab 1. We'll do the drafting document next. To do this, continuing directly on from the lab part file, remember that we clicked File, Create Drawing from Part, and now we're at this dialog box here. We're going to select A4 Anti-Landscape as our sheet size. Now you might not have these options, especially if your default is only show standard formats, so just uncheck that. Scroll down to A4 Anti-Landscape, press OK. It'll open up a new sheet. It looks like this. And it already has our part file already stored. Before we go any further, we're going to have to change a couple things. Mainly, we're going to have to switch to MMGS if it isn't already selected as our unit system. We'll change our scale from 1 to 5 by going to Sheet Properties, and we're going to set that to 1 to 7. Now this is only for this lab. Of course, if you're creating your own part, you'll have to set your own scale so that the part file fits well in the sheet space given to you. We'll go back to View Palette and select our front view, and we'll drag that into space here. We'll then, after clicking the first view, which is our front view, we'll drag our mouse above and you can see it projects the next view, which is the top view. We'll select that one. Then we'll go back to our front view and just move our mouse to the right and it's projecting the right view. We'll select that one. And then we'll go here to our isometric view and select the isometric view. Then click Escape to get out of that dialog box, and we can drag our isometric view to line up with our top view and our side view. And we'll have the 4 views which we'll use to create this draft document. From here, we will have to dimension all the different dimensions here of our feature. Now, these videos are meant to be used in conjunction with your lab manual, so make sure you reference your lab manual to see which dimensions are necessary to have on this sheet, on this draft document. So I won't do them all now, but I'll just show you guys how to get started dimensioning your drafting document. So under Annotation tab, we'll click Smart Dimension, and then we click Away. Basically the same way that we dimension in the modeling aspect of SolidWorks is the same way that we dimension in the drafting aspect. So we'll click Align. It's going to give us the dimension of that line, and then we'll just click to place it. Now, of course, you're not editing the part file, you're not editing these dimensions, you're just simply annotating what those dimensions are. So you will not be able to edit the dimensions for the part in this draft document. You'll have to go back to your part file if you want to make any changes. One thing that may be of difficulty to you when you're dimensioning is the angle dimension between 2 lines. To do that, select one line, then the second line, and you'll see here it's going to give you an angle. And depending on where you place your cursor, it'll give you different angles. Of course, you have the obtuse, the acute, and the reflex angle. In this case, I would suggest using the acute angle, and we can drag this angle. Once placed, you can drag the header of the angle to change its placement in your drafting sheet. Of course, when you're making these drafting documents, you want to make them as easily readable as possible. So leave your dimensions in areas where if you were to hand this to, say, a machinist, they would be able to easily read the document and understand exactly what's going on in your sheet. Also, you should not duplicate any dimensions. So if I was to select this dimension here, 240 millimeters, and if I selected this dimension here, it's also 240 millimeters. Now, of course, this makes sense because if we look here at our isometric view, this length corresponds to this edge here, which also corresponds to this edge. So this 240 millimeters and that 240 millimeters are the exact same dimension, not just numerically, but also, well, what they're referenced to. So of course, you should not have duplicating dimensions because that only clutters your draft document, and you want to keep it as simple as possible. With that being said, you'll have to dimension every feature that's unknown. So here we have the 45 degrees. You would have to dimension these diameters here, right? So something like that. You would have to dimension the distance of this cut. All the dimensions for this document are in your lab manual, so just follow that along. If you're unsure as to which dimensions should be labeled and which one shouldn't, you'll have everything in that document. But yeah, for draft documents, that's basically all you need to do. Place your 3 views and your isometric view, and then have all your dimensions. Now, when setting up these draft documents, you'll notice that my dimensions right now are slightly different from the dimensions in your lab manual. You'll have to change some settings that, once changed, will stay saved in your SolidWorks configuration file. So I'm going to show you how to change them right now. Change these at the beginning of the semester, and you won't have to change it unless you reinstall SolidWorks onto your computer. So to make these changes, we're going to go up to the options gear icon at the very top of our window. We're going to open up here system options. We're going to go down to drawings display style, and we're going to check tangent edges removed. Okay. We're also going to go in the left tree menu here down to display. We're going to go part assembly tangent edge display removed. Then we're going to go to document properties, click dimensions, click diameter, and we're going to change our text position from solid leader aligned text to broken leader horizontal text, which is the middle icon here. As soon as I select this, you'll see it's going to change how that dimension is going to be shown. So you'll see this is what you want to keep. Okay, the broken leader horizontal text, you want to have all your dimensions like this moving forward. So go back, you can change your linear, same thing, broken leader horizontal text. And yeah, so if any of your dimensions conflict with how the dimensions are in the lab manual, just come down here to your dimensions tab and make sure that they're set up the same way, arc length and so on. You can do those horizontal text as well. Just make sure they match exactly in the lab manual, because that's the standard that we're using for these labs. So make sure that, of course, if you want full marks, that yours looks exactly how they are in the given lab manuals. This should be your part file, your draft file here. One other thing that you'll have to do is change your isometric view from this unshaded edge view. You can delete that view first. Go back up to your options. Go to display style. Click under display style shaded and click OK. Now go back to your view palette. Place that isometric view, and you'll see now it's shaded, which gives a better representation of what the actual part would look like. So for your isometric view, we'll keep it like that. Now go back to options, go to display style, and switch from shaded to hidden lines removed. Press OK. And now if you have to import any more views, let's say I'm going to double up here on the right view, you'll see that right view matches the style of our other 3 views. One further thing, when you're dimensioning, you should not have any dimensions on your isometric view. Okay, your isometric view is just there to give a 3D representation of your part. Unless absolutely necessary, you should not have any dimensions on this view. Your dimensions should stay on the top view, front view, and right view of your part. Once you're done that, just save your your draft file. You'll see here it'll be saved as SLD-DRW, which is a solid drawing. So you can just save it as Lab1, solid drawing, and then click save. When you're complete your part file and your drawing file, if you were to submit this online, say for your mini design project, make sure that you submit both files in a zip folder. Don't just submit the part file or the drawing file, because you'll only have half of what you're required to have. So make sure when you submit, include all your files that have been asked.